Hello everybody, this is Professor Harald Weil from Germany, AfD, in the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe in nice Strasbourg. Here is my badge for the last or so time. I have a guest and a nice colleague, Kliment Šopov, from the conservative Възраждане revival party in Bulgaria, which doubled their percentage from election by election, and election time in Bulgaria is every 1 or 2 years. So,
well, even more frequent than that. Unfortunately, every year there's 1 or 2 elections. So far, since 2021, we've had 8 elections. Okay. 8 elections in 4 years, 8 elections.
Yeah. Well,
so yes, our presence in the parliament has been growing, and the presence of patriotic parties in the Bulgarian parliament has been growing. I think it's due to the fact that European policy on a European Parliament level and a European Commission level have been leading Europe to degrade in its economic progress, in its social progress. The European people, Bulgarian people, German people, the expectations that they've been having from this union slowly have not been met. And they have not been met because of stupid policies, because we're focusing on things that are not important. We should be focusing on the well-being of the people, physical well-being, economic well-being, better education, better health, more job opportunities, and all these things. The European elite, what it seems, is not concentrating on. They're concentrating on fighting this enemy that they claim is Russia. They're focusing on transgender education. They're focusing on migration. They're focusing on bringing in as many migrants as possible, which are not really refugees, because a refugee is a refugee when he's fleeing a war zone, and he becomes a refugee in the neighboring country. But we see people from the Middle East going all the way up to Germany, and therefore they are economic migrants. And handling so many economic migrants at once is not healthy for any nation.
Yeah, please, let's come back to this election thing. So that's, some would argue that's democracy at work, every 1 or 2 rerun, pre-run, and so on. But democracy is at work. What is the result? That's the question. You are in politics since 22. That's your 3rd year. For me, it's more than the 7th year. I call it a 7 years war. And what has changed? I think our conservatives and relatively new parties, we are addressing these problems. That all that what you mentioned, it ends up that things go on as business as usual. Migration is not controlled, is not handled, is not managed in any meaningful way, at least in Germany, and the rest of the EU too. The education thing is a mess. What do young people learn in schools? What education is offered at universities? And besides these economic things, we have the currency thing. I think very few people know that not all members of the European Union are members of the Eurozone and joined the Euro. Some opted out from the beginning on, like Sweden, like Denmark, like United Kingdom, which is not a member anymore. But you are required to opt in Bulgaria, and the public opinion and even professional opinion and analysts are against this introduction of the euro to that time. Can you tell us something about the process of the public vote and the action or non-action of the Parliament, of the President and the Supreme Court?
Yes, Professor Weil. So basically 80% of the Bulgarian people do not want accession to the Eurozone. The people who want accession are the big multinational companies, because they will save some money in transaction fees, and the political elite. Unfortunately, the political elite is not taking into account the opinion of the people. We as a party collected 604,000 signatures in order to have a referendum on the subject. The law requires you to have only 400,000 signatures. So after collecting these signatures in a 3-month period, we had to give them into Parliament, and Parliament is required, obliged by law, to vote a resolution to hold a referendum on the topic. The majority in 2023 decided not to vote for a resolution. So they denied the right of 604,000 people, which signed in the span of 3 months, to want a referendum. They denied these people the choice of democracy. And they imposed their will, their vision on how the country should be run financially. The president, following this, refused to announce a referendum because he has the power to do so, but he refused as well. The Supreme Court also refused and denied Bulgarians the choice of having a referendum on the Eurozone. So unfortunately, we're left with protests, and we've been having protests. People are not happy, they're angry. They know that with the new European Union, European Commission policy on taking savings from the people and rearming Europe with those savings, they are afraid for their own money. That if they go into the Eurozone, their money will be taken and used in another country, in France maybe, to arm France. So people are not happy. They're afraid of inflation, like we saw in Croatia. Croatia had massive inflation after accession in 2023. And so they still cannot control prices there right now, and they had waves of protests. And so Bulgarians want a referendum. They've been having protests. At the latest protest, what happened was 6 people were detained. 4 people were held for over a month by the prosecutor's office, effectively making them political prisoners. 2 of our deputies were, their immunity was demanded by the prosecutor's office, and they want to arrest them. So we see that in Bulgaria, when we do a protest against the European policy, that it is not democratic, and that those protesters should be arrested. But when we see this in Germany, when pro-European protesters protest in Germany, in Georgia, there it's democratic. There it's democratic.
Of course, yeah. And that's exactly the contrary of what I called earlier democracy at work. Mm-hmm. Democracy is at work when you have elections every year or every second year. The result is not exactly important because the political class and the decision makers, starting from the president with the parliament or against the parliament, and at the end or the beginning of it all, the Supreme Court. The same role the Supreme Court took in your neighboring country, Romania, etc. Well, let me say one thing in advance. It's very nice and okay that you joined the European Union, because we, as a German conservative party, and you as conservative parties in Bulgaria, Romania, and other countries, we are the avant-garde of the reform. If it ever should be possible to reform the whole thing, then it is not done by mainstream parties and mainstream politicians. It's done by people like us, who are still a minority, a growing minority, but we have the accents on the right problems, and we offer solutions the others don't even talk about. And let me make one important point referring to the whole Balkans. Hooray, we got rid of socialism and communism. Hooray, we are in the freest and most modern economy and collective of societies in the Western world, not United States, European Union before. It's all turned into the contrary. We have much more similarity with something I call EU-SSR, and it's called like that since 2009, when a Soviet dissident, Vladimir Bukovsky, framed this very word, this technical word, in the elections of 2009. So what it brought to the countries, big or small, Balkans or not, first thing, things get more expensive, as you said, especially when it comes together with the euro, as you've mentioned in Croatia. The real estate prices go high, real estate prices for housing, for industrial sites, and especially for the farmers, yeah, the landlocked people, so to speak. Prices go up, foreigners come in or not, people cannot afford to make a living there, and it's getting harder and harder, not only for those in agriculture, but for all kinds of small and medium-sized enterprise who are not worldwide concerns, technically advanced, etc. It's a hell and a mess for small and medium-sized companies. And the new opportunities offered by the money from Brussels is contradicted by the millions and tons of rules from Brussels, which is bad for the industry, which is bad for the agriculture, which is bad for the society, education, and everything else. And that you experienced since 2007, when you and Romania joined against the protest of some conservative people, when you joined wonderful EU, and what you've seen there is more decline than rise.
Yeah, of course. And it's very unfortunate because the politicians were always promising everything for the people if they just joined the next international organization. So it was like that with NATO in 2001. They told us you have to cut up your rockets, cut up your tanks, cut up your airplanes, but you will have more security and everything will be better in NATO. And then it was with the EU in 2007. The economy will be better, everyone will have a job. Yes, right now in Bulgaria everybody has a job, but a lot of people have left to have a job in Austria, in Germany, in France, and so they're working in other countries, they're not working in Bulgaria. And now it's the same with the Eurozone. They're promising the same things as with the European Union, and that is why people do not want it, because they know, they've seen the promises did not hold up, and they do not want to be lied to again. But you mentioned something very important with housing and with the industry, and the European Union was based on the promise that there will be more security for the European people. But what we see is that there is no more security. Housing has gone up. Young people are not sure about their future. They're not sure that they can start a family because housing is very expensive now with all the new migrants coming into Europe. Crime has gone up drastically. People do not feel secure outside of their homes. And with the failing economy, people are not sure about if tomorrow that their factory will close down and that they will lose their job. So security is fleeting in the European Union, and there needs to be reform. This old political elite in Europe needs to go, like you said, Professor. And I know and I hope that our parties will work together to achieve great things for Europe, make Europe great again.
Very nice. We have a perspective, and especially and even the countries and parties who entered the European Union as founders in '57 are not much better off than those who entered 2007. Mm-hmm. And so let's make a joint effort and take my greetings to Bulgaria, to Dr. Kostadinov, your party leader, to Mr. Stoyanov, who is a member of European Parliament, and last but not least, Mrs. Rada Laikova, which moved from Berlin to Brussels in order to make a change. Thank you very much, and see you again.
Thank you very much.